Good afternoon, everybody. Morning in Australia. Maria, thank you for getting up way, way early since you're on the West Coast right now, right? So it's even
Yep.
earlier than normal. This is
Yes.
the Love and Rockets Book Club on 22 panels. We are celebrating having completed the first 50. I can't believe we've actually had I actually went through. We've actually had 51 Love and Rockets book clubs because I think it was issue 29. We wound up talking for 2 hours and weren't done with it yet. So we came back and talked about it again the next week.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I thought we'd do something special. So joining us today is Gilbert Hernandez. Um, how's it going, Gilbert? Thank you so much for
Thank you.
so
No, no,
All
no, no, please,
right.
please, please. Oh, great. I feel great. I'm glad you brought up that music list that I bungled. That it was the thing we're talking about. He goes, now I got to put all these songs I love, and my mind
right.
was blank. So
No, I think
I
it's
had to research.
fantastic.
Oh,
No,
thank you.
I
The good
I
list.
regularly make playlists to go along with comics. Anytime comics give me music, it becomes a playlist.
Mhm.
Um, and so I have a full Love and Rockets playlist, but like half of the Love and
Mm.
Rockets playlist is this story because there's like
Oh, yeah.
140 songs in this story and like 60 more in the rest of Love and Rockets.
Right. Just,
Um,
I do have to tell you though, some of the songs from the older issues weren't favorites. They were just favorites of the characters.
and that's okay. They
Okay,
still
Oh,
but
are
you
okay.
great
know,
songs.
That's even better.
I mean, I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
That's a cool thing to hear.
Mm.
Um, because
Hmm.
again, it's just uh, I appreciate it when people manage to bring music into comics.
Good.
It's one of the things that too many people will say, "Oh, movies are better than comics because you can have music." I'm like, you can do music in comics. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of how you do
Listen to the soundtrack
it.
while you read it. Yeah.
Either
Yeah,
creating
This is
soundtrack,
Macy.
there are great music comics that, manage to make you feel it and hear it as you go. Um, yeah, Maria, Marisol, you're sitting there. You were supposed to ask
I
questions.
know.
Do
We
you
just
want me to start?
yes, please.
Okay,
yes.
I'm actually going to start with something that Chynna and I were discussing the other day. Um, in the first 50, Gilbert, your a couple of your stories are incredibly heavy. Poison River, Human Geostrophism are brilliant and beautiful, but really, really hard reads. And I've noticed as you get older, you've gotten sillier. Many of your, I mean, I'm not saying that you don't also do heavy stories,
Mhm.
but um, Blubber and Psychodrama Illustrated and a lot of the B movies, it seems like you're having a lot more fun rather than wrenching our hearts out. Is that partially a function of it's really, really hard to create that heavy story? Because you have to live with it for as long as it takes you to draw the page. We only have to live with it for as long as it takes us to read the page.
Right. Well, that's what I was doing at the time. I wanted to top myself each time with a story that's just going to, freak people out or whatever. But I felt that I had done some, I had been doing those already, so I just kind of backed off a little bit, and I started doing the goofy stuff, the movie stuff, and then that's pretty dark too.
Oh
But
yeah.
I just have to say though, those psychodrama illustrated books that are actually Fritz's movies, those
Right.
we'll get to who Fritz is later.
Yeah.
She
That
those are her ideas. Literally, I have the characters create what's going on.
oh, I love it.
So I personally wouldn't make movies like that, but she does. See, that's the thing. I'm really serious. It's
I
like,
love
okay,
it.
this is what she wants, how she wants to be seen. This is how she wants this, da, da, da. And she's kind of crazy. She go over, go. And now that a lot of indie movies are so over the top now that it's like
Right.
they caught up.
Right. Right.
And because, her childhood was so, I mean, that was a harrowing childhood that she
Yeah,
had with Maria, like
yeah.
those
Mm.
girls were completely neglected.
Mm,
And I can see where
That defend for
psychologically
themselves.
she's got
mm,
that dark side to her psyche.
mhm.
Yeah,
But,
and
but
it's amazing. Yep. Sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the most devastating discussions we had was the issue where it was just the girls at home, and Maria popped up and went to bed and then left, and it was mostly just the girls trying to do stuff, and Maria and Marisol were just looking at it and going,
Well, and
Yeah.
one of the girls, you know, fell and hit her head, and she was unconscious.
Yeah,
And it was
Petra.
just like, oh my God, I thought she did, because I didn't remember, because I read these comics more than 30 years ago, and a lot of it now is like reading them again, you know, like reading them for the first time. It was like, I can't remember, did she die, you know, like, and I only read
And
them.
no, that was my first thought, as someone reading
Yeah.
this whole series for the first time, um, where like this last issue of the first 50 came out, like I was 2 years old.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
am the baby of the group.
yes.
But like just reading that for the first time, I thought like immediately, oh shit, Petra just died right here. And Fritz is
Right.
just going through these couple days with her, like on her own, just leaving her sister there. I mean, thankfully she was fine afterwards, but as fine as one can be with some head trauma and being unconscious for a day or two. But I mean, all in all, she was alive, and it's like, it's a very sad reality for people. And I mean, not that that's a bad thing to sometimes see in comics. I mean, that I think
Please
part
stop.
of the appeal, you see parts of like your own history, your own story, and your surroundings now like memorialized on paper.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, in a sense, like you're not the only one who has to go through some of these things, but to actually see it in media is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to talk about the story or
go
anything?
for it.
Yeah.
No, just that it was time. I was in between, big depressing epics, or whatever they were. And I just wanted to have the girls' relationship as kids, how they kind of, their mother was neglectful. They were the neglected children. That's one of the biggest horrors in my life, is to know that there's children neglected, that way, and terribly, because they're on their own, So I just wanted to do a story about that. And I don't know. It's and the thing is, doing stories like that, I was so happy with the way it turned out, because it was a short story. You keep wanting to do them again, that same type of story. Now I could think of new things to torture the girls with, but I thought, why? I did the story. So it's a little difficult to step to the next thing, because you're like, yeah, but I'm really into what I did before. So it takes a little.
Yeah.
But it's
You want to keep
very,
going a certain route, and then it's like, oh no, probably could use a little palate cleanser.
Yeah,
Let's go back to that later.
Yeah.
a different fork in the road,
Yeah.
Could I ask, was it difficult to ever put your characters for yourself personally through some of the things that you wrote? Did you feel bad for them because they're real to you and didn't want to put them?
Only when something very, very serious happens, like a super violent or something like that, or it's just something super traumatic. I mean, not the normal thing that most people go through. I don't feel bad. I just feel bad that this exists and I'm writing about it, that this is how people treat each other. And so that sometimes it kind of bumps me up, but I think, well, this is a good story. This is something, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I just put that aside, the worry that it might be the wrong story to do. So I just did it, and so far, I'm happy with a lot of it. But like, yeah, some of those earlier stories, like Poison River too, I probably wouldn't get as grim again as I did then. But who knows? You never know. The next day might be different, so.
They're great. They're fantastic.
Did,
The way they
did,
are.
did you guys decide early that you were going to age your characters? Was it something that you always knew was going to happen, or did it just kind of happen naturally?
I did, because the first Palomar story, to me, when I was drawing it, I go, well, this will be the past, because I want to start doing these characters as adults. The boy character, the children characters, the boy characters, and I don't know why there was, you know what, it's been so long, I've forgotten that real reason why I did that. I jumped say 5, 6, 7 years because that's where I wanted to go. Because I think I wanted the first story to be safe on its own, like not continue that thread, like, okay, the boys are now, they're 14 in the story. Now they're 15 in this one. And now they're 16. I wanted to avoid that. And I was probably overthinking it. I should have just kept going with them as kids. And Jaime and I used to bullshit a lot of the dates. Like we just would have calendars all the time, and we just for as a gag we would write 1964 just as like for somehow and so we realized later we were told so this is taking place in 64. We go, oh no, oh you're right. You got it right, I got it wrong. Yeah, when we stopped doing that because we would just do stuff off the top of our head, just kind of goofs that didn't match what the timeline was or where the characters were and this and that. So we were aware of that after a while.
Right.
Speaking of little extra bits, like sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Maria.
That's all right,
but,
carry, that's right.
I noticed something that I don't think I've ever seen in any other comic I've read. Not to say that my comic know-how is expansive, but I did like how in some issues you have at the very bottom of the pages pronunciations for places or names, and that's fantastic. Like, what got you guys thinking to start doing that?
It was simply that most people just mispronounce Spanish names. It's just
That's fair.
That's the norm in America.
I mean,
yeah. So basically, I did that, and as a joke, kind of, I spelled them out phonetically instead of properly like a dictionary. No, I did it phonetically because it's easier. Heraclio. You spell that out like for kid. Heraclio. That's right. That's what you do. But
I like that.
but a lot, and then there's a lot of people's names that are just different, in Spanish culture or whatever, Latin culture. That's what I wanted to do. And Jaime was actually challenged early on. I can't say who it was. He was challenged at a party, and issues had just come out, and we were sort of a threat to the mainstream a little bit, just a little bit at first, because they didn't know what to make. They didn't know what to make of the new indie comics, and we kept coming out. See, that was the thing. It wasn't just like we did one and disappeared. No, now they're worried about Cerebus was out there and ElfQuest, and now this Love and Rockets thing, and they were kind of like, well, they would ask us questions like, well, like kind of like, why aren't you doing superheroes? Why aren't you doing that stuff? And go, well, we're just doing something different. It's a different comic. We want to do it this way. And so this woman, and I can't say who it is, she was a big shot at DC. She goes, so the Spanish pronunciations at the bottom, and then you did them phonetically. And Jaime goes, yeah. She should be asking me, but she was asking Jaime, which is usually the case. Now, I just said, and then he just goes, yeah, well, we just want to make it simple. And we just did it for fun. She goes, oh, do you think people are stupid? Do you really think? And she just went off on him. And it's like, I wish I was there because I would have gave her a body slam. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the things. On the one hand, you want to answer, yes, I do think people are stupid.
Well, yeah, you don't want
people don't know how to read, so.
Yeah. And I thought it was
I get people pronouncing my name incorrectly all the time too. Even at my job, sometimes I'll answer saying my name Marisol instead of Marisol because a lot of American people can't roll their R's very well, which is fine. I don't mind. But I've had people come back trying to call me
correcting me. I feel terrible.
Yeah. I don't mind it, honestly. Hey, I really don't.
I'm gonna have to call you.
I've had people come back and calling me like
much harder.
Marissa, Melissa. I had someone say Mariposa. No. I don't know where they got Mariposa from, but I wasn't mad about it.
That's a stretch.
Yeah.
It was, but it was funny, and now it's somehow stuck at work.
Yeah, I understand that. I've heard that. Like my real name is Gilberto. Now, who the hell's going to go around in this country named Gilberto if you're trying to, make it out there, get out there? And I told my mom that. Well, no, because what happened at school, I go to school and I'm signing up, first grade. I'm signing up and they go, Gilberto. Right away, I'm like, no effing way. They're going to call me Gilberto the rest of my life. And I go,
oh God, no,
that's not right. And they go, what do they call you at home? That's worse, Beto. And I'm like, what about Gilbert? And I go, oh, okay, if it's going to get me, class, okay. So I Gilbert stuck. You know, I like Beto and Gilberto a lot better, but I know I would have gotten a lot of
Yeah.
But work on it.
confusion. That's
Yeah.
all.
That happens. That happened to
Yeah.
me with my
Really?
nickname. My mom called me Ange. Okay, my
Okay.
name's Andy,
Sure.
but I didn't want to say that was my nickname in
Right.
grade school,
Sure.
right? So
No.
I changed to Andy, and now everybody calls me Andy, but she called me Ange. She was Italian. I think she liked, you know, the Andy Griffith show, right? It calls him Ange all the time, right? So, but my people call me Ange from back home, but most people don't even know that. So it happens all over the place, right? You're little and you're embarrassed, right? For some reason that's not true, right? So
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
And I think also a part of it is like, especially when you're little, the whole discrimination thing. So I know for
Oh, yeah.
me and my brother when we were little, like the biggest thing I ever remember is that we got put into ESL classes in elementary school simply because of our names, Marisol and Carlos.
Mhm.
We spoke
Oh.
perfect English, by the way.
Oh
wow.
my God.
Wow.
We spoke perfect English.
That is
And
nuts.
the
That's
hell my
insane.
mother raised at that school when she found out.
Oh, boy.
Way to go, Mom.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah. But it's one of those things that like you get it having not even just a Hispanic name, but a name that isn't very common like in America or anywhere where you're living where your name is not something of the norm in the area.
Mhm.
You kind of got to find ways around that for people to, I don't want to say for them to be more accepting, but that's the best phrase I can come up with right now.
Yeah.
For
Maybe
lack of
less
a better.
confusing, you know? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Keep
Some
on
people
heat
just
off
get
of it, so.
confused, and that's the best case scenario, by the way, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have a similar thing in Australia. I migrated to Australia, and my real name is Maria de Los Angeles Peña, and I became Maria Pena.
Oh, right.
Ah, yeah.
And basically officially, when they did my visa or whatever, they just went, no, there's no ñ, so it'll just be Pena.
Oh,
And now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, I should have kept my surname the way it is and made everybody pronounce it.
all right.
Because now, Pena in Spanish means sorrow, Peña means boulder. I mean, it's like even that, even the meaning of your word, of your name becomes something different, right? Yeah, but anyway, you're good. And the worst part is that all Hispanic people who arrived here in Australia, we all have two names. So someone called, and everybody's name starts with Maria or Jose, but you usually use your second name as the distinctive name. Like my brother is Jose Alejandro. Well, he's Jose now, and there's so many Jose's. Everybody Latin that you meet is a Jose. It's like, oh, this is Jose. You go, oh, hello, Edgardo. Oh, yeah, his name is Jose now, Or Alex, my brother, is Jose. It's really, it's like so colonizing, So, there's something really, it's not fair, in a way. And, yeah. And I lost my mother's surname as well, because we have two names and two surnames, because
For both your parents.
And now I'm thinking I should have gone Peña and hyphenated Diaz, my mother's name, but I didn't know, I was arriving as a refugee and I just went, okay, whatever you say, sir,
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, you need to I love that your mom stood up for your rights, because, yeah. Anyway, it's a migrant experience, I guess. Yeah.
Speaking of moms,
Mhm.
I'm going to use that as a segue. One of the things I really wanted to talk with you about, just to draw a parallel between your experiences and my own, was I, like you, was introduced to comics by my mom. My mom was a huge comic book fan when she was coming up. And I'm a boomer, so she's the World War II generation. She's from the 40s. Yeah. So all the Golden Age stuff she was familiar with. And so I was talking about stuff when I was a kid, and my friends were talking about The Flash, and they meant Barry Allen. I meant Jay Garrett. I was like, Where's the helmet? They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So it was really cool. And the thing was, when I was coming up, comics, a lot of people, as accepted as they are now, you all know this probably, it wasn't as accepted then. And a lot of parents didn't approve of it, even though it improved reading scores. That's been proven. And so to have a mother who not only advocated for them, but went me was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I heard or read what your mom introduced you to, and she was a fan also. Can you talk a little bit about?
Same thing. It was the 1940s, and sometimes she just found a comic book, and just liked the way it was presenting the story. The illustrated. It was a Captain Marvel, the real Captain Marvel.
Yes, that's my mom's thing. Oh no, you're kidding me. Yes, yes. I'll get back to that. Go on. I have a story about that. Go on.
So she just loved that, and then she started looking for more Captain Marvel comics, and then she got hooked. And remember, most comics were a dime, so she could buy a bunch, And then she'd get old and tattered, and she'd trade them. There was a trading post near where she lived, and she would just trade comics. But her mom didn't like her reading comics, so she had to hide them under the mattress.
Oh wow, that's funny.
Same old story. And when she found them, she would throw them away, So my mom would have to rebuy them and this and that. And pretty soon she just got outgrew them because she got, started dating and then, got married and had kids. So.
Yeah.
But she always was always nostalgic about it. Like, oh, those are fun. I used to like to read those. And then we'd go to the market or something in the spinner rack. And my brother Mario's older, so she would always buy him a comic book. I was too small, I was just gonna tear it up, But he would buy a comic, but he had a weird taste. He never liked just one type of comic. So anyway, we grew up in a house with just all kinds of different comics, not even
heaven, Nirvana.
Yeah. Anyway, that was
so go on. I'm sorry.
No, that was a childhood. And since it was the beginning of the Marvel age, starting with Fantastic Four.
Oh God, yes.
And stuff. She read those and go, these are good. I like these. These are like the comics I used to like. So she started reading them too. And she encouraged
Ditko and Kirby and those guys.
Yeah. She liked those comics. So I'm like, all right, cool.
I'm going to tell this one story that's going to go in my book, so don't tell anyone. But anyway, I was a real little kid, right? And my mom and my sister and I were watching Andy Griffith one day. This is the old series. And they had a character named Gomer Pyle. He'd always sing Shazam. And every time he said Shazam, my mother would just crack up and look all pleased and delighted. I had no idea what it was. I said, Mom, how come every time he says that? She said, you don't know what Shazam is? I said, no. And I don't know where she got it from. And so not right then, but at some point later, she showed me an old Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel, like you said, Gil. Beto, like you said. The real Captain Marvel. And that was it. I was off to the races. I was hooked. It was great. The art was great. It was funny. And so, yeah, that was her favorite. She liked that guy. And to this day, I think about this great love of comics I have. And it came from my mom. Yeah, that's cool. Same here. That and the old Flash Gordon serials. Oh, those. So that was good. I'm glad I was. Yeah. Yeah, I watched those. They're great, man. And YouTube is wonderful because it has all that stuff on it, you know? All the old Buster Crabbe, Flash Gordons, and all that stuff. I mean, I cut my baby teeth on that stuff, way before Star Wars. But anyway. And a lot of lifting. I mean, they even have Cloud City in Flash Gordon, where it's literally the same city that's in Empire Strikes Back. It's the exact same. Right. And they call it Cloud City. And they call it Cloud City. Right. It's like, geez, And it's the same concept. Yeah. The same concept. They did that shot that in the 1930s, So that's amazing. So thank you. I wanted to share that with you. All right. Go Moms.
Beto, I have a question. I don't know if you remember, but I wrote you once and I sent you a book called They Won't Take Me Alive by Claribel Alegría, which is Salvadorian. It was about a woman in the civil war of El Salvador, like a this worker woman who becomes basically a gorilla. And you probably don't remember, but it was, I think what happened was you must have been doing human diastrophism. Yeah. And you were sort of talking about revolutions, and so I think I sent it to you, and I was like, and then afterwards I thought, oh, I hope I don't ruin your, I was thinking whatever you're coming up with is coming from you, and whatever else you're reading, I don't know what your influences were, but sometimes when you know too much about reality, like if that was, I thought it's gonna, I don't know, it's going to ruin it for you, because you'll be like, oh no, what I'm doing is not good enough, or whatever. This is reality, you know what I mean? Do you find that with like, if you read something and you go, oh, and it might just derail everything? I don't know. I don't know what I'm asking.
I'm a proud thief. When I steal there. And I claim that it's mine. And that's all I do. Remember, what's the saying? It's a truism. Oh God, what is it? A good artist borrow, great artists steal.
Steal, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, but just so it might be overwhelming or something.
Yeah,
or
I don't know if
or you might decide, you might lose the because there's a sense of fantasy as well in what you were doing. There was there's that magic realism and stuff, and so I guess I was worried. I thought, oh, what if he reads this and then it kills them. The magic
steals it. No, I would normally, when I do come across something like that, like in the middle of a story, I will shift gears only to get it right, not to like swipe from it or to get inspired. Like, oh, I like what this character's doing and doing that. It was more like, oh,
no.
The actual the facts are different, or are more interesting in this segment, and so I will try to implement it in the story I'm already doing. So I probably swiped a lot from your book. So So be proud.
I recently bought the book again. It's out of print, so I did sort of, and I'm reading it. And of course, these days, I haven't got as much time to read, but I'm reading it again. And if I see anything, I don't think you probably didn't. You probably had already gone through that stage of the storytelling and went on to something else by then. But anyway,
it's been a while. That was back in
I mean, we can jog memories here because you wrote her back.
Oh yeah, this.
Oh, I did. Oh, that's where this came from.
Yeah.
Going down memory lane.
We found Maria because of the letter that was printed in Love and Rock
Number
as
18.
18, where she identified herself well enough and wrote a good enough letter that I went and Googled her, and I had her as a guest on the show. And we hit it off, so she joined the book club.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And here we are.
She found this not long ago, which is why I knew that we had to get in touch with you, because
so this homeless guy wrote this letter to you because he didn't have a computer or a typewriter, right? Oh, poor
this is
guy.
in the 90s. This is mid 90s or something like that.
Was it even that late?
I mean, yeah, because it was.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got the
that you were
earlier.
Yeah, but this is way after. This is like 18. I think
This is so
I started reading from no. I think it was issue 15 was my first issue, and then I went back and bought as far back as I could, and then I had to buy the books, the books 1, 2, and 3 because I missed out on 1 to 11. So I got from 11 to 50. I got the original issues, and then further along. But then that was a few years later. I was a bit older, and I was.
Do you show the letter, Tad? Because I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I thought it was kind of amazing when you did that, and Maria was on this call, and I'm sure you, I mean, do you remember the letter? Probably not, right? But I mean, it was just,
No,
I mean,
no, I wouldn't
like,
imagine you
yeah,
would.
I mean, but like
No.
you changed Maria's life
Right.
because of, she was an artist and everything, and it's just amazing,
That's
Yeah.
really great to hear.
It's certainly,
Well,
well,
and
it certainly showed
I
us
loved
what
that
comics could do.
she brought up Frida Kahlo in her letter, and I
Oh
think it
yeah,
was
that's
the
right. Yeah.
next issue that you did your Frida Kahlo thing that I assume you must have been working on ahead of time, but
Oh yeah,
Here's
for sure.
Oh, you know what?
loved
Okay,
the
this is how making comics work, and sometimes it you're surprised at how well something comes out by accident. I was doing a gangster story with my brother Mario, but he's really undisciplined, and it kept going on and on and on. We only have 16 pages in Love and Rockets each, so when he just kept going, oh, this is going to happen. This I go, is this continued? Because I got other stuff in my comics, my stuff. I mean, are we going to continue at this page count? And he goes, I don't know, because I'm not sure what's happening next, but I know. And so it went like that. And I go, and a co-publisher called up. He goes, your story's late. What's going on? And I wasn't ready. And I'm like, ah, crap. So I had to think fast. I had to do a story in 2 weeks. And I thought, Jesus, what happened? This never happened before. And then I thought, what do I know? What do I already know so I can just jump into it? And I had read the Frida Kahlo biography,
Mm.
you the famous one, the Hayden Herrera one.
Hayden Herrera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I read that years ago, and then but it was still clear in my mind. I really liked the history, the story, and I thought I'll just do Frida because she's still kind of obscure. At the time, I thought she was already famous, thought she was, Taylor Swift or something, And I'm like, no, they might not know her that well, and it's an interesting story, and it's got some history in it,
Mm.
American history. So I just did the story, and I had to rush the art, and people complained that it was like, oh, well, you just copied her art. I go, no, I made all this shit up. I just made it look like this famous art.
Mm.
And
I
so
love
they're,
that.
oh yeah, okay.
I love that so much.
So anyway, the book came, the story came out, and people were just stunned. They didn't had no idea who Frida was, and this and that, and that. And I was kind of like, oh, I guess I should have done this before, because
Yeah.
I did it out of desperation, and I'm really happy. The art was stolen in Italy, so in
Oh
case you
really?
come across it, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
That's
It was it
amazing.
was
Never
it was
see
sent
it
there
on.
for it was sent there for a gallery showing, and the people who did the gallery showing disappeared. Just boing, was gone.
Oh,
Wow.
Boo.
That happens. That happens.
they can't
Is
sell it
anyone,
in the open market now.
Yeah, not going to happen no more though.
No.
There
is
you go.
anyone, oh, sorry. Has anyone ever approached any of you guys about the possibility of either animating or feature filming some of your content?
Over the years, for at least 35 years, yeah, they've been coming knocking. But see, this was the 80s, so it was a lot different then. Right away, they were going like, well, this Maggie girl is in outer space, right? And she has a rocket ship and all that stuff. And Jaime goes, well, I'm not interested in that. If you guys are, go ahead. But I'm more about the girls living in LA
The
as
hoppers.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they were just like, what? What are you talking about? Because when they look at things, they can only see what they can, use. A rocket ship,
Mm.
cute girl in shorts, aliens,
Yeah. Dinosaurs.
Right.
and then that's what they see. But they don't care about the script or what's going on in the story, the way Heimer writes. It was more that they go because they've been at the business so long that it's like they're just selling all the time. How couldn't we
Right.
sell it? How do you sell this? And in those days, in my work, it was more like, and I understand their problem. They goes, yeah, they would take in, Love and Rocket and say, well, what's it about? I go, well, this story is about a Latin American country and this and that. Like they just be like, who wants to see that? How could we
Yeah.
sell that? And I
Everybody,
told them, I go, you guys,
everybody wants to see that. They just don't believe
Yeah.
it, right?
Right.
and it's one of those where if it was made well, if it was at back then, people would like it and they'd go like, oh, I never heard of this. Why didn't I? Well, you turned it down.
Mm.
Well,
So anyway, but now
doing it as a
there's
show
still
would be
Sorry?
phenomenal. If you did it as a show, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
because
you
now
don't even need to, right? It's in its perfect form right now, but I mean, they would
That's
work as
right.
a show.
But there's people who get it, because I've met some people in Hollywood and also just indie filmmakers who get it. It's just hard for them to sell it, to the next step, go to the next step. And most indie filmmakers have their own stories already. They have what they're going to do. They
Fair.
where the mainstream are adapting things, grabbing things and seeing if it sticks.
Yeah.
So right now, there's a few people that are interested, and it looks good, but everybody will know if something happens.
Yeah.
Aha!
Did
We
you
heard
ever
it here
worry?
first. We
Did you
heard
ever-
it here first.
Well,
Right, yeah.
nothing's
I
yet.
say nothing. I'm Sergeant Schultz. I say nothing. I hear nothing.
In the beginning,
Hear
I
nothing.
died to ask this
Right
question
now, it's
to you
just
guys.
spaghetti being thrown at the wall.
Yeah. Were you ever worried that you were going to start a story and not get to finish it because you wouldn't get to do it? They were just going to stop. How confident were you? I mean, your early comics are a little bit more individualized, but then you started investing into these stories and these characters. And at that time, I have to assume you weren't sure if this was going to keep happening, but these characters are obviously something that meant so much to you. Were you ever concerned that that wouldn't happen? I mean, I'm sure by the 90s it was fine or whatever, but
There was no, because the response, we were able to get response often, and they just liked the characters so much. We never worried about it. I mean, yeah, that could happen, and we just go, huh, what, but we didn't see it, we wouldn't see it coming because they
Right.
loved time as characters so much, and like the Palomar characters, and they just loved it.
Yes.
They would just insist on having more and more. So we never even thought about quitting.
great. Yeah.
But I have done this in the past, and I've told cartoonists, okay, sometimes you're starting a story and it's just taking too long, and it might not be worth your time. Too much time, too much time. And I was talking to a guy, and because he started a story, and he had 3 issues or 2 issues. He goes, and then I just stopped because it was so stupid and terrible, and I got my worst reviews and da 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 da. I go, well, what you got to do is just add another issue or another couple of the few 4 pages and just release it that way. He goes, but it doesn't. I go, well, you have to fight yourself. You have to say, this is different. I'm going to use this for a different story. And you have to allow yourself that, because I've done that before. I've written a story starting out in 3 pages that just wasn't going to work. So I just put it aside, and then I would come up with another story, and I just added that other part to it, change dialogue and things like that. You can do that. You have to just push your pride away a little bit and say, well, that didn't work. Maybe this will work, and I'll just use it. Because remember, the reader hasn't seen the stuff you didn't finish. So if you can fix what you've done, not all the time, but what this guy was talking about, he could finish it in a couple of issues and have a little graphic novel, but he doesn't want to. That's fine.
School's in session, kids.
I'm just talking about the boring backstory of comics.
No, I'm eating this up. Are you kidding me? Wow.
Well, speaking of characters and stories, do you have like a favorite story you've written or a favorite character or characters whose stories you've enjoyed writing the most over the years?
In the early days, I really liked Luba and the Palomar stories because she was
Yes.
unpredictable to me. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know what she was going to do. I had to keep her mad, angry, or was
You
she,
did a good job.
or was she angry? Maybe she just had a big mouth. I don't know. See, that's what I mean. I didn't really know her, but I just like, using her character and how she worked so well in the story. And toward the end of Human Astrophism, she went to the dark side, and I kind of was unhappy about that because I didn't want to show her in that light. But I thought this is real. She's in a situation where a lot of people, just because there are characters, doesn't mean they're going to act, better than real people in certain situations. People act differently, unfortunately. And so anyway, yeah, it was Luba. And I liked writing Tonatine, except her story was over. Once the Human Astrophism came and she got politicized and got kind of half crazy, I knew she was done. I knew she was done, the character, because she couldn't go back being that naive, bouncy character, selling slugs.
No.
I could. She couldn't go back
Nature
to me.
child.
Yeah, I couldn't. I just couldn't go back to that. Like, oh, now she's normal again. So what was all that other stuff about? So anyway, that was my choice. And sometimes I still go like at the time she had edged Luba off as my the reader's favorite character, and here I was not getting rid of her in the story, and I'm like, oh, what am I doing? The story just came out. That happens to writers. It just came out that way.
Yeah.
The characters move the story along. Yeah.
You have a favorite, Jaime? What's your favorite thing that your brother's done?
Actually,
absolutely love.
when Hyman talks about my work, and they, because he has to, the same question. They go, what is Gilbert's story you like the most? And it's the one you guys are talking about, Mouthtrap, the one of the two little girls in the apartment, and then their moms at work, whatever. He also talks about that one. It's well for me it was Hyman. I think it was called Spring '82, and it was about his character Doyle, who was basically uh, he was pimping strippers, at
That's
parties,
right.
and doing all that. And
Yeah.
all he cared about was his high school buddy. Like, hey, where's Ray? Have you seen Ray? Yeah, I know. I saw him over here. So really, that's all he cares about. He's just zoned out watching the whole, the whole thing. And Jaime just held it together in that one story. But he knew, as I knew, like with Mouthtrap, you can only do it once because then it gets spoiled if you keep repeating the same type of story. Here's the thing. Uh, R. Crumb, the cartoonist, he
Yes.
he was wasn't that crazy about Hyman's work. He thought it was too slick, too nice, But he read
Mm,
that story, Spring '82. He loved it. He thought that was the greatest story. And I go, there you go,
there you
happy.
go.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that story, Spring
This,
'82, he really held it together.
despite the beautiful drawings.
Right.
Mm.
Oh, that's funny. That's-
How do you
Oh,
work?
well.
Do you script ahead of time? Do you thumbnail? Do you go straight to sketching?
At this point, over the years, I've read this from other old man cartoonists where you no longer lay out your stuff on a separate paper and start dialogue on a separate paper and all that stuff. I just take out the paper, rule the borders, and then just start writing dialogue and ideas around the border like that. That's the way Jack Kirby used to do it.
Oh.
He used to write his stories that way, write dialogue around the edges. So that's why it was easy for Stan Lee to look at a Jack Kirby page because he saw all the notes. And
It was so fanboying.
but yeah, but what I liked about Stan Lee's work, uh, is that he had the mind. He just could see that art and then all the dialogue and all the information around it. And he had talked to Jack before, as planning the story. And he went home and just wrote it. And these are completely readable and fun comics that he just had that talent. So it was a great synergy at that time of these guys really producing, kid comics, superheroes, and just really going crazy and allowing Kirby to just completely go ballistic on his art,
Yeah.
and his invention. His invention is unparalleled, So anyway, I can't remember the question, but
How do you work?
oh, that's all. And anyway, so I kind of thought about Kirby and that when he would write. So we'd write on the margins, and then I would and a lot of times it depends on what you want the character, what setting they're in. Like you think like they haven't been in the snow for a while, or just because to make it different from the last three issues or something. You want to just change it up. So there's things like that, but I normally just pencil. I rule borders like so you can change the borders. I won't ink them, but I'll change them as I need to. And as simple as that, I just draw straight on the paper now. First lightly sketch, where the characters go. And um, I know a lot of people use the computer and use, Photoshop and move everything around, and they just change the shapes and stuff like that. But no, I just feel comics are done by hand, and that's how I like it.
Yes. Indeed.
Just don't ask me
I
to
want to
draw.
know.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'd say, like, who would you name as like your biggest inspiration for, like how you make your comics? Not how you started getting into them, but like any
Just how I
particular like
develop.
writers or artists that you drew inspiration from.
Well, there's just everybody I've ever looked at, which is, hundreds, but probably the main one, and this is I've in the last a couple of years ago, I've been mentioning the same guy. His name he drew for Archie, and his name was Bob Balling, Bolling, and he basically, he needed a job. He's an artist. He needed a job. He went to Archie, and they go, well, we're going to put out little Archie comics, which is a copy of other kid
Oh,
comics.
yeah.
Kid comics were, real
I remember
popular.
Little Archie. Yeah.
there was, at the time there was Dennis the Menace and Richie Rich and all these little kid comics that were very popular. So Archie didn't have one. I mean, they tried other kid comics, but they didn't work. So they go, let's just have Archie as a little kid and just do that. And they just let the guy go and write his own stories and draw in his own style. And it's almost Ditko-esque where it kind of turns people off because it's so personal the way he draws, the way idiosyncratic it is. But basically, he wrote stories with the kids are thoughtful. They worried. They were kind of had to go to school. They dealt with basic mysteries. That's also inspired me for the magic realism because there was always some witch or mystery going on in these stories, but it was down to earth. The story was down to earth, yet there was a witch in it or a mystery, such, you know. So anyway, I just loved that way he wrote and drew, and I just thought, as a kid, I was doing my own drawings and stuff. I thought, I want to do these comics. I want my comics to be like this guy's, except with my voice, with my, interests. So that was it. This one guy, so many people, Charles Schultz and Peanuts, Crumb, a lot of these people, but the Bob Balling guy was the one where I wanted to make comics like his, except, more so, more me.
Yeah.
Did
More in your style.
Bob
And I
Montana
guess
fall into that?
something.
I'm sorry.
Did Bob Montana also end up as an influence too? His
Oh yeah,
early
all the better Archie artists and writers were very influential to us. Bob Montana was still doing the comic strip in the newspaper. It was the Sundays,
Yeah.
and he was writing it, and it was funny. I thought he was very funny. So, yeah.
a lot of the slapstick looked like something that might have transferred to Love and Rockets.
There's a handful of artists over at Archie that were really good. They were just drawing in the Archie style, the house style, but they're terrific artists. Yeah.
I recently looked up because there was one artist that I used to love, and it's not one of the well-known ones, but his name was Sam Schwartz. And
yeah, he was the Jughead artist. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the jug. Oh my God, I love his stuff. It was so crazy. Like his figures would move out of the panels, and he did all this really dynamic stuff. And I didn't know his name because I used to read, Mexican reprints of
Sure,
DC
sure.
Comics, Editorial Novaro, and so yeah, they didn't. There was no kind of background to who drew it or whatever.
Yeah, they never put
just by
credits.
style, I would recognize stuff. Like later on, I realized I like Alex Toth and John Romita Jr. No, John Romita, his romance comics.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And Archie and this guy, this Sam Schwartz guy, which I only recently went, what was the name? Because it was really hard to find. I'm like, who is this guy? And then I was like, yes, that's him, like all my hands and everything that I drew. I love the way he drew hands. He used to do this great, very simplified, but beautiful.
What
Yeah,
I liked
anyway.
about the Sam Schwartz Jughead comics is they were all surreal because he was just a
Yes.
regular girl, how he doesn't like girls and he want to eat hamburgers, the whole bit. But then there was some weird mystic, weird thing happen around the corner or something, and it was just all for laughs. But I liked it. I liked the freedom of it. It's crazy.
Yeah. He had that thing where things were happening in the foreground, but there was a whole story of something else happening in the background. And it reminds me of Blondie, Blondie and Dagwood. Remember that
sure.
used to happen
Yes,
where the dogs
right.
would be doing stuff
Exactly.
in the margins.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. It's
remember
really
that stuff.
fun.
That was great stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, comic book strips, man. Yeah, sorry, newspaper strips were my thing when I was first young, and
I liked.
yeah.
I was a fan of Mac Rayboy's Flash Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
He also did Captain Marvel Jr.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mac Rayboy. You remember that guy?
Yeah. Because there was that group of guys doing the Fawcett guys doing Captain Marvel and
Yes, right.
Yeah. Mac Raboy, yeah.
Some of those guys were excellent draftsmen.
You know
they
the Elvis Presley story where he took his look from Captain Marvel Jr. You know this.
oh, really?
No. All right.
Really?
Continue.
If you look at Captain Marvel Jr. and you look at Elvis when he first started wearing capes and that kind of stuff, it was a blue suit and he has lightning bolts on his cape.
Holy cow! Never heard this story.
And they always ask, where did Elvis get his hairdo? If you look at Captain Marvel Jr., you'll find it.
Oh my God.
That's
He
so
loved
cool.
comics.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love trivia like that. I love
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, just look at Captain Marvel Jr. Go, hey, that's Elvis. Yeah.
Ben,
Just searched the internet and got 500 like hits on it.
Oh,
It's
no.
like all over. He's got his blue cape on. He's doing all this
Oh, yeah.
stuff. That's holy cow.
when you guys were starting in the early 80s, did you have any idea that you'd be celebrating 40 years the way that you have with the massive hardcover collection? I've never been happier to spend $400 on comics at once. Um, I pre-ordered that the second it was available.
Wow, cool.
um, the sketchbooks, the Reading Love and Rockets by Mark Sobel. I mean, there's been so much done in the last year to celebrate 40 years of Love and Rockets. Was that something that both? What did you imagine when you were a kid and just starting in terms of how long it would go, and when did you realize that it was something that was actually a like cultural cornerstone?
I guess it was like in the 80s, like mid to late 80s, because we kept getting because part of it was being courted by Hollywood. We just knew that, oh, this is serious. This is something they want, because they kept coming back over years and getting it. At first they didn't. And then they go, yeah, I really like the Palomar stories and I like to do them as they are, but it's a tough sell, and they fell apart or whatever. So it was then where I just thought, well, people are taking this serious and they enjoy it. And we got such great response from readers at cons, from letters and this and that. So we kept it small. We said, well, we're doing real good with these folks, our readers. We're doing good. So we'll just go. We didn't even project into the future. We just thought one issue at a time, because it's going well and I'm not going to jinx it. So pretty happy
Were you here a few years ago at Cake?
A few years ago, not
Yeah,
recent.
would have been
No,
what, 2017?
because I don't know if it's you or you and your brother.
It
Two
was
of you were here at Cake several years ago.
Hmm.
And I was there with my daughter, whose mother's Mexican.
Hmm.
And she was little then, and she was all thrilled. I said, "Do you know who that is?" I was fanboying, of course. And I got something signed for her, a book that you guys had. I don't remember which two of you were, but I know it was at Cake. It was here in Chicago, it's up north. And she still has it.
Cool.
So yeah, that was cool.
Nice.
But my memory is losing, I know there were two Fernandez brothers there, but I don't.
I'm not
Has
sure which
Mario
one.
I don't
gone
know
out
if
on
we knew
tour
each other yet.
recently?
Do we know each other yet, Tad, when that happened?
We did know each other, but you weren't smart enough to invite me to go with.
Uh-oh.
I heard about Cake the next year, and I called you up and I said, "Go with me." And you're like, "I was here last year. The Hernandez brothers were there," and I went,
And I feel like, I was
Oh, funny.
uh,
Well, I guess going from my earlier question, was there a particular reason that you guys tend to draw like the little kids in your stories very much similar to the Dennis the Menace Peanuts style of drawing little kids? It's adorable. Don't get me wrong, but I know in previous issues, Ted and Maria were geeking out about it and like talking about how they're very similar and dropping a lot of proper nouns that kind of flew over my head a little bit. But I mean, I recognize Dennis the Menace. I recognize Peanuts. That much I know. And anything else is just kind of, unfortunately, sometimes.
Mhm. We drew kids the way we drew them as kids. We would draw our own little comics with kid, because we like Charlie Brown, those Peanut specials on TV, and we would like draw our own versions of them, but we use our own characters. So yeah, we just like Jaime just got stuck drawing that way. He's been drawing kids like that since he was a little kid. So he thinks about it like, oh man, we should draw more realistic. I go, it's hard to draw kids realistic because
It is. Yeah.
no, the proportions are weird. So you draw
Right.
them like
I
they're
can imagine.
like they're 2 feet tall, but that's how it looks in the story. And then drawings, 'cause in real life, obviously,
Yeah.
they're anyway. it's so basically we stylize the kids more because they're more difficult to put on the page to make them look like
Yeah.
Like
look like
kids, yeah. And all the different
They're so cute
ages
like
are
that,
so
though.
different. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes,
Like, the head size is,
Yeah,
it's not
that's
the head
weird.
size, it's the
Right.
amount of heads changes, and then where
Head
the
to
eyes
body
are in
ratio.
relation to it's like, oh man. I
Yeah.
always have that trouble with storyboards, and just trying to get the kids' age right. And there's a certain, when they're real babies, it's not that hard, and when they're but it's that in between thing. It's like, and then it's all like, I'll just shrink the head up and down, and
Oh, right.
in relation to the body, and that kind of changes the age in a way.
Sort of on the same note, it's hard to draw middle-aged people because you draw people young or you draw them very old. But when they're middle-aged,
Yes.
they're
That's
hard
interesting.
because if you draw too many lines, they look too old. And if
Yeah.
you don't draw the lines, they look too young. So you just try to figure out where the lines go, how much lines you're going to do, this and that. And that's always a little difficult. Like one of my characters is 50 right now, and she looks 20. But it's because if I add any more lines to her, she look too old. So
Too old.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I have a bad it's probably my brain because when I see somebody 55, they look young to me. They look like young people. They are to me. Anybody under
Oh,
60, I
and
think like
yeah, I think
okay,
there's a tipping point where all of a sudden you just start to look old.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
from
Like,
from 40 to 60, I can't tell a person how old they are. You know,
Mm.
it's I just forget. Oh, they're about 45. That person's 67. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, No,
yeah.
I just lose it. I think like I'm not sure,
My
but
parents owned a hardware store growing up, and my mom would say, "Go help that boy in aisle 3 by the nails." And I go over there and be like a 24-year-old there, and I'm 12.
yeah.
Like, there's no boy over here.
It's a
What are you doing?
man.
Where's the boy? Did he go to the other aisle? What happened? Yeah.
Mhm.
with
My
the
my earliest experiences with Love and Rockets were all black and whites.
Mhm.
I don't remember the covers, and I remember how pleasantly I say shocked, but I don't mean that. That sounds negative. When I first saw a color rendition of the characters, the Mas Morenas, all the pigments and the different shades of brown that these
Mm.
girls had,
Right.
I was like, yes! Oh, it was so thrilling. I can't even. I sound trite when I say it. I can't even express to you how exciting that was. That I saw what they really looked like with their
Mhm.
flesh tones shown.
Mhm.
That was really nice.
Yeah. The problem of Love and Rockets is since it's in black and white, and I decided that my people in Palomar would be brown. I'm not good at shading. Jaime can do shading and make people look like they're darker than I'm just don't have that talent, that skill. So I always lament, that well, it's all about the brown people in this village, and it's in black and white. So
But if
Yeah.
you know,
Um,
then you know that they must be right.
yeah,
Exactly.
every chance I got, that's why I put them on the covers and back covers all the time so I can get them in color.
Those are great. Those are great.
Mhm.
Yeah, and in Latin America, I mean, people are different colors. I mean, there's
Oh
so
yeah.
many
Oh,
pale
from
skin Latin
white to
American,
darkest, yeah.
and and even their features don't mean it doesn't mean that their skin's gonna be lighter or darker.
Exactly.
They just are. It's great that you can imagine whatever color you want on them, but then yeah, it's great to see them in full color and go, oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
Carmen was that dark or whatever.
Yeah. Like cover 16 and
That was really
18
cool.
were a shock to
Yeah.
me. Like when I saw that, I was
Yeah,
like,
like
God.
Heraclio is really
Yeah.
dark skin. You can,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
yeah,
I mean,
That's what I'm
he does
getting.
have,
That's maybe I didn't express it well, but yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. It
like,
was like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
When I
pretty awesome to have to calibrate yourself that way,
when I did
Or like
Love,
even seeing the difference with like Luba and her two sisters,
oh
right.
right,
just the
yeah,
difference between the three of them.
I um I did Love and Rocket 16, volume one, and it was Heraclio holding Carmen on the cover. It's that purple cover, and they're at night and they're naked.
Hmm.
He's holding her. That's probably my most popular cover because
Right.
it was used in like two or three movies, for some reason.
Wow.
Somebody in the
Oh.
background reading it or something. And the thing is, to me, it was just the next step. This is what I want to draw. I want to draw, you know what? These people are going to look like black folk in America. So I'm going to make them lovers. I'm going to make them loving. I'm not going to have any cliches, no nothing. And they're holding, and that was so popular, that cover, and it just like sold instantly. I had to sell it, and it was just amazing. But what I did get, because like I said, I'm all in my head drawing this, a lot of people of color said that is the greatest thing I ever saw. And I'm like, oh, really? Oh, good, thanks. But they were like, no, you don't understand. That's a cover.
That's what I'm saying.
That's something that's a cultural shift. That's something, and I thought that's another reason to continue. Really, that was another thing. Like, oh, if we're doing it and people are saying other people aren't, well, we're gonna give it a go. That was one of the
Yeah.
reasons to keep going, just to get it.
And thank you for that.
Yeah. And like it's hugely important too. It's like there's so many people out there who either don't see themselves represented well in any media or don't see themselves represented at all.
Right.
And I feel like Love and Rockets does have very good diverse representation of not only people who look different, but people of all sorts of different backgrounds, family makeup,
Sexualities.
from all walks of life. And I love that diversity with it. 'Cause, like, you may not, physically be able to relate to most of the characters, but like some of their circumstances or some of the things they say or do. I know Tad, Maria, and I have talked a lot where Maria and I have shared a lot where a lot of people in the Palomar stories, a lot of what they do, what they say, how they act is very familiar to the two of us.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
Like they're very similar to like the at least for me, I see it. Palomar is very similar to all the pueblos in Mexico.
oh,
Now I haven't been to one in a very, very long time. It was like little last time we went to one and got to look at all the country and all the houses and how people live out there. But I still can remember that it looks very similar to Palomar.
yeah.
And that I think is just fantastic too.
You. Wow. Cool. Yeah. I just wanted it to be a place where everybody could feel like they've been there, even if it looks different and everybody acts different, that I just wanted the reader was welcome to be there, even though crazy crap's going on.
And it feels that way a lot of times too with the characters themselves. Like you may not know nobody exactly like this, but you know somebody who does things the way this character does, or somebody who is all into sorts of shenanigans the way these characters are. Or how everybody in Palomar is like they're in everybody's business. Like Carmen knows everything about everyone. Like there are so many people in my family like that. They know all the family gossip and then they just talk.
Was having strong female characters a deliberate thing you guys did, or it just worked out that way?
It was just completely natural because we liked as kids, besides the kids comic, and I love the Marvel comics stuff, but what I really liked was like Betty and Veronica comics and Lois Lane comic. The Lois Lane 80-page giants, those are amazing, and then those are really great comics. They never talked about and then like the Harvey comics, like little Dot, little whatever, little
Dot,
all that stuff.
Little Audrey, yeah,
we liked those because the art was really great, and we liked the stories too. But the art was by a guy early on, was a guy named Warren Kremer, who was an animator, and he kind of created the style of the Harvey comic. Hot Stuff. Everybody knows what Hot Stuff.
Hot Stuff, Casper, all those guys.
Yeah,
right.
He did that, and then but he had a stroke, so they had to get a replacement artist, and it was Ernie Colon, who actually was a Marvel.
I know Ernie Colon. Yeah.
He became the next Richie Rich artist.
Cow.
Yeah, and he because he could ape the style really, really easily.
Wow.
And he went on to his own style.
Stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, what were we talking about? The kid comics and stuff. The
strong female characters.
Oh, female characters.
Was that a deliberate decision?
It was not. I think it's just in me and Jaime's wiring, because in high school, most of my best friends were girls, And not that I was a big dater. I had a girlfriend or two, few and far between. But I just hung out with girls, groups of girls, because I guess with guys, I just didn't care for the sporty competition. That was competition with fellas. And they didn't like me because I hung out with girls, and they didn't understand how I could get along. I go, I just talk to them, and I don't hit on them. That's why. That's the magic. Guys don't understand. Why don't girls like me? You hit on them. Be nice to them without hitting on them. That's the secret.
Yeah, just see them as people.
Yeah, see them as people, intelligent, creative, funny, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Crazy. That's and then talk to them. But it's always like, how do I, date this person or whatever,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Or more importantly, I won't talk to this person because I don't want to date them. Right?
Yes, exactly. You're gonna run into and so these guys build up this fantasy that women are difficult and this and that. It's like, no, she doesn't like you. She's not weird.
You are the problem.
Yeah. You she doesn't
Yes,
want.
the common denominator is you.
Yeah. So anyway, it was just natural, and I liked it. I just did, and then I kept some of the friends, because when I would hang out with just my guy friends, we would talk about different things, and it was a lot more depressing because they talked about not having a girlfriend. And so I'd hang out with the girls and they wouldn't talk. But it's interesting. It's like in movies and TV, all girls talk about is boys, right? They didn't talk about boys. Once in a while, they'd say, oh, because I was there probably, which was actually nice because we would talk about other things. They would talk about their interests, mostly music and things like that. But I remember thinking that this was cool, but it took me years to realize, oh, they don't talk about guys because I'm there. Or maybe who knows? Who knows?
No, but you discovered that we don't just talk about guys all the time, and that's
you
all
discovered the Bechdel test.
And that was back in the 70s, so I was ahead of the curve,
Thank you for that, by the way, so much.
See, that's when you know you made it into the girl group, when they will talk about other guys in front of you.
Right. Yeah. They would once in a while, but it wasn't,
Yeah. They're
like
trying
the
to see, like, hey, do you know such and such? What do you think about him? Is he cool? Can we hang out with him? Or is he a jerk?
Mostly would talk about musicians, because at the time I was the 70s, so the rock star was, had his presence, so there was a lot of that. Now it's all, all over the place. But then it was like really the rock star was the thing.
It was huge.
It always blew me away how well you both wrote women, because I couldn't connect with most comics until I discovered yours. And random ones like Adam Warren's Dirty Pair and things like that, because he'd also write better dialogue with these girls, and it seems so real. And I wondered if you guys were raised by like just your mom or what. I didn't know what the background was because it was so authentic. It was shocking. There was nobody else writing like that, and I just wanted to thank you, for being there and doing that, because it really meant a lot. I mean, a lot. It was something to read.
Yeah, we grew up with my mom, and our grandmother was there part of the time. And she basically, and dad worked at night, so we never saw him. And so it was just mom. And she had her sisters lived in town. She had 3 sisters that lived around the town. So there was always family gatherings, and the sisters got together and they would run the show. They'd be talking and laughing and doing all kinds of whatever it is you do at a family gathering. And so we saw that as the norm. What are all the dads doing? They're on the little couches with their beer, the boxing matches on. But the ladies are hurry up and eat. Come on, get out of here. You kids get out of there. That kind of stuff. And that was the norm, where the dads are just like, you kids go outside. I'm trying to fall asleep. But anyway, it was like that. It was the norm. So like I said, it was just everything. It was like comics and like TV shows we watched. I Love Lucy and Mary Tyler Moore and stuff. And it wasn't weird to see women on TV, as the star of a show. It wasn't
Carol
weird to
Burnett.
it just didn't. It wasn't that weird a comic fan thing where they just don't get it and they just
Oh,
like their
no.
superhero comics and that's it, you know. I don't know.
I remember watching that girl when I'd be sick. Oh, flu, right? And I would only that week I would see that girl, right? So yeah, but yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
think
there
of other
was
shows I
that.
watched.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Beto, your
Uh-uh.
Palomar, I often thought, I often wondered because you guys were born in the United States, and but you also Palomar was like it was a Latin American town. I was a city girl, so I don't know what life in a small town is in Latin America. But I assume you assume you imagine, and I was wondering, did you go to Mexico at all when you were growing up, and did you see any, or was it all coming from your, you know, I don't
It
know,
was
from your
coming
imagination?
it was coming from imagination, from movies, from what you saw on
Mm-hmm.
TV. Uh, Literally driving out of town, and there'd be little side towns that are small and they may as well have been from Mexico. Really, because
Right.
it's
Yeah.
back, and they're all knocked down because it's modern times. But back there in the 60s and 70s, you could still see these little towns that weren't knocked down, or little parts of cities that were made of wood and this and that, and sometimes it's in Adobe building, and they were just not
Wow.
knocked down. They were just still there. So I would see that, and I thought that was a cool setting, for something.
Mm.
So I was thinking about, where am I going to play? Oh, this looks cool. We could use this for a fort. Oh, down the street there's that place, and we could, that's I was always storytelling. It was just in my brain to
Mm.
just, oh, there's
Yeah.
something, and I'll tell the story with that. Even though I didn't write or really write much with the comics I did as a kid, just drawing comics. No, there's not much writing. That didn't come till I had to do Love and Rockets. I go, oh, now I gotta write it.
Better
So
write
that's
it
why the
down.
first
Yeah.
couple of issues are so wild, because I wasn't, hooked in yet. I wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, they were
Did you?
more
Oh,
like they were coming from other comics, or
Yeah, yeah,
like,
totally.
yeah, yeah. You hadn't kind of gone into your Mexican kind of heritage kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, oh, so I didn't go to Mexico until I got married and we went on our honeymoon.
Right.
So I hadn't
Wow.
nice.
till 1986,
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
But that's great, because you have no preconceptions. Like you're not, you know, you haven't seen Latin people en masse in their own country, and
Mhm.
so you wrote them like such individuals, and you know, they're more real in a
Mhm.
way than people who have been. Because I don't know, um, because just because they live in small towns doesn't mean their minds are not open
Right.
and stuff, and the way you wrote them, it was
Well, that was
it was very groundbreaking to me.
what I think partly is where Love and Rockets got noticed also, is because of that. I decided to write, okay, I'm going to do people living in a small Latino village, and I'm going to care about them. I'm going to write them like they're people I care about, even if they're doing a
Mm.
lot of bad things. And Jaime did the same thing with Maggie and Hopi, because first of all, they're two Latinas and they were into punk rock in LA. Well,
Mhm.
there was no such thing before
That
that.
was you,
Before that.
right?
So when he started doing it, his goal was just like mine. He goes, well, I'm going to make them people, because they're always like they're extras in movies. They're going to kill you, or they're going to do something. They're wearing a leather jacket. That means he's mean, or he's whatever. That
Mm-hmm.
all those cliches, like, oh, Latins, they're going to be gang members, that kind of. No, no, they're not. They're just going to hang out and do stuff, but they do drugs and stuff. So does your mom. It's kind of like they did all kinds of drinking and drugs and stuff, like sort of housewives. I mean, what are you talking about? So, anyway, so he did that, but it was always like, I'm going to make them people so I can care about them and care writing about them. And that was the same for me in Palomar. I go, I don't know these people, but I want to, and I want the reader to care about them too. And that was
Mm-hmm.
important, because we didn't really see that emphasized in other comics, or,
Mm-hmm.
at least back then, or we
Yeah,
weren't.
yeah.
Still not enough.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were so ahead of the curve. I mean, It's just
in
incredible.
so many ways.
Well,
Did
Yeah.
you ever have a chance to meet Jack
Johnny, you're cutting out.
yeah,
before he
Uh-oh.
passed away?
I missed that.
Oh
Yeah, I didn't
no,
catch any of it.
Jack
cutting out real
Kirby.
bad.
Johnny, you cut out there.
What happened?
You'd cut out real bad.
Oh, I asked him if he ever had a chance to. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Shit,
Yep.
Can you hear
now.
me now?
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Okay. I just asked if you had a chance to meet Jack Kirby.
Yes, I did. But I was so nervous. I would see him often. He was at he and his wife would visit the Fantagraphics offices in Thousand Oaks, which is near where I lived. And then one day, one of the guys had to go take some papers to him, from the Comics Journal to Jack Kirby, because they were dealing with Jack Kirby's art being stolen, from Marvel. So
Right.
he was trying to do a proper news expose, and so we went to ask him questions. And me and Jaime just went as fans, to his house. So we hardly said any word. We were just standing there like,
Yeah.
He was very friendly, oh, you kids are great. Oh, you kids, and this was before
That would have been me.
we couldn't even talk, man, because he showed us all the art on his walls, and this is before the Kirby collector, because all that stuff's been, since he passed, that stuff's been printed, but it wasn't before. They were just his private collection. So he was going through each picture, going, "These are my kids," and he got really kind of choked up when he had a picture of Thor and the Hulk and all these characters that he hadn't drawn for so long, since the 60s. And he just goes, "These are my kids. They're mine, but I don't want to talk about it." So yeah, I was like, okay, I get it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So,
That was great.
so you got to meet Kirby. Is there anybody else that you've gotten to meet through the years that was just, I mean, the thing about doing this podcast is, I mean, whether it's meeting you or any number of other people, um, it's still weird to me every time. It's like, oh, I'm talking to Beto right now. That pinch me.
Surreal, right?
So,
So surreal.
through the years, what were the moments that you wouldn't have gotten if you hadn't been a cartoonist that like really stick with you?
Mostly meeting the great cartoonist of my time, because it was the 80s, so everybody's still alive.
Right.
To say it that way. Eisner, Kurtzman,
Oh
Carl
man.
Barks, Tezuka, all these people,
Oh wow.
they were around.
Those names.
The only guys I regret, I wish I could have met, but I wouldn't have said anything anyway, is Ditko and Chester Gould, who did Dick Tracy, who
Okay.
actually
Yes.
Comic-Con in the early days. The old cartoonists used to go to Comic-Con. It's
Did they?
really weird to think about, So anyway, those two guys are definitely heroes that maybe Johnny Craig from, there's a few that I wish I would have met because I liked their work so much.
Yeah.
I was happy to meet Ramona Fradon and say,
I
Wow.
love her stuff.
Metamorpho was the only character, and by a woman, co-created by a woman, that stood up to the rest of the characters in the 60s. The big build-up with Marvel in the 60s
Right.
and that. She was the only woman to have her own superhero character that was the weirdest comic.
It was great.
Next to the Metal Men, DC were crazy. They were just like, what the, I love them. I love those comics, man.
Yeah.
Especially Ramona Fradon's. I loved her weird art. It's kind of like she didn't bother to, didn't bother with the memo. She goes, she's just gonna just draw in her style, and that was it. And that's what I liked about DC, because they didn't really have a DC house style till later.
Right.
They were all different illustrator types, whereas Marvel was like,
Exactly.
all right, everybody draw like Kirby and Ditko, and that was it. But so anyway, it's just God, lots of them. Who did I meet? That's true.
Cool stories. You said Eisner.
Yeah, Eisner. He was very polite. He was very nice. Kurtzman
He's
had already
nice.
had Parkinson's, so he's hard to talk to, but he's super, super good. God, I'm just trying to think of.
I I met Will Eisner in Australia in 1985.
Oh
and he
my
was really
God, you're
lovely.
lucky.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was really, he signed a couple of my books, you know, how to draw comics in sequential art. And I still
right,
have
right.
them. But yeah, he was really lovely. He was really open and just really nice guy. Really liked him. He was already quite old at the time, but yeah, I mean, but I
Actually
don't know
met
when he passed.
I met Charles Schulz. That's another one, you know.
Oh,
It was
wow.
really hard to, because it was at a book festival, a really huge,
Wow.
you know, you can only get in by certain passes and all that stuff. And he was signing, and I went over to get a book by him. But he was very friendly, but he doesn't look at you. You know, he's talking to you and he's looking
Huh.
at the, you know. Well, he's talking to a million people. A million people want stuff from him. You know,
Like Charlie Brown, right?
yeah,
So
Well,
yeah,
Charlie
and
Brown wouldn't look you in the eye, probably.
yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah.
was
So
also
he's,
very shy. I
yeah, he's
think.
very shy
Yeah.
guy, very shy. But I was stoked. I go, this is the man. I'm here because of this guy, man.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's great. Great stories.
And it
Thank
was
you.
especially Schultz because unlike Kirby and Ditko and all these guys, they didn't. Those guys collaborated. Schultz did not. He wrote and drew his own comics the whole
Right.
time. You know, so
Yeah.
Never got to meet Alex Toth or hear
yeah.
from
Went to
him.
his
Yeah.
Dave Stevens of Rocketeer fame took
Oh
Kyle
yes,
Mario.
I love that
Oh yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
that
He,
guy's great.
Dave took us over to Tulps, and we go, wait a minute. We heard he's kind of a cranky dude. He goes, oh, he's in a good mood today. I could see he was simmering underneath. I could see him going off in a second if he heard something he didn't like, you know. But we're good. It was good. It was a good time. He was a good, nice guy. He was just a little lost, you know. He's kind of going like, "What do you think of comics now? Huh? What? You know, like, oh."
Oh my.
But he liked her. He liked her.
Did he know your work? Did he know
A little bit, yeah. David showed it to him, but they really liked because they really like because he's missed Alex Toth perfected black and white comics, you know, from mainstream, you know, the comic books. His black and white is amazing, obviously.
I know.
So he kind of could see that in our comics that we were taking from him or inspired. So he was happy about that actually. He goes, "Oh, good, you guys are using blacks. You're spotting blacks. I do an animation and they're telling me take out the blacks." You know,
Like the Hulk.
that kind of guy. Yeah, no, I think he's brilliant. I think Toth's work is brilliant.
Before I flip things over and we grill Maria and Marisol a little bit, I have to ask you my favorite question to ask everybody. Tell me a book, preferably comic, maybe a piece of music, whatever, piece of media, a piece of art that you love that not enough other people have experienced and you need them to, so you have more people to talk to about it.
Most of I've done that over the years, but that was usually stuff. I don't no, I don't know. I don't know. I think I've run out of things to turn people onto, you know, because it's all online.
Well, we're a fresh crowd. I mean, Marisol's young. It could be, you know,
Change your life.
you can regurgitate. We don't care.
I
Doesn't have to be new.
what I'm saying,
Not literally, okay?
I guess what I'm saying is that I can't think of something I could show you and you would go, "Oh, wow, I see that." That's what I mean. It's more like stuff I liked as a kid, and you're projecting as a kid. So if you saw some of the comics I really was influenced me as a kid, you would just see them as like, "Oh, I don't get it," and I would understand that. I would get it because
Well, I mean,
it's
I will tell you that after you guys did the PBS documentary, I started reading Dennis the Menace.
Oh, wow.
So I'm nerdy enough that you might tell me the book from when you were a kid, and I would go. I've been taking notes on artists and books that you've mentioned already.
The one artist on Dennis the Menace.
What about like a band or
a band? Oh well, I just love bands. You know,
that's what I'm saying. Like, or a show. Like, what's a band?
You don't have to go with a comic.
Yeah,
if
doesn't
you
have.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because there's a lot. And you know, of course, there's no such thing as a favorite movie. There's 100 favorite movies.
Which is why I don't ask favorite.
There's something you're watching now, into now. That's why I said that. What's your favorite band?
Something you're into that is like,
But like, who are you listening to now that's new, maybe, or even old?
No.
And for that matter, if it makes you feel better, Nate Powell answered this question with, "I've been reading X-Men for the first time in 30 years." So it doesn't have to be like obscure. It just has to be something that you like that you're not talking to anybody about right now.
I'm trying to go through music. I'm trying to go through comics. I'm trying to go through movies, TV shows, and it's a whirlpool. I can't get to one.
Well, how about this? We'll circle back to you in a second. Chynna, talk to Maria and Marisol.
And
Chynna, you just muted yourself.
Chynna, by the way, I love your work. Oh, you're muted.
sorry about that. Yeah. Thank you so much. Let me see. I've got all these notes here, and it's a complete mess. So I'm
Chynna
sorry.
actually prepared. I never prepare.
I tried to go back and listen to some of the old episodes, a handful of them, because I had missed out on them. So I thought it was really interesting listening to Marisol. Did I say that correctly? Because I'm not good at rolling my R's. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You did. A for
Speech
effort.
impediment,
A for
right?
effort.
It's a Spanish speech impediment, right? Not rolling your R's.
Yeah, because I know even like one of my uncles, he's like American Italian, so he can't really roll his R's. So instead of saying it Marisol, he says it Marisol with a D instead of an R. But it sounds very similar.
Yeah, it's
I
close
get
enough.
better. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And like that works.
Yeah.
So I was listening to the first episode, and you were talking about that you were surprised how much you liked it because it was before your time. And for I don't want to sound terrible. You said it seemed kind of dated only because you weren't used to that style of art and maybe storytelling yet. So I was curious what your background was before that. What comics were you reading? And what other media were you taking in that made this seem so different to where it was almost, kind of like a whole odd thing to you? Were there any kind of like particular series that you were really into before you started reading Love and Rockets?
Yeah, I started with X-Men. X-Men was huge for me. Like, had the OG VHS tapes of the 90s TV show. I think I still have one of them somewhere here. But but those were my first comics, and I started reading, I want to say around like 10, 11, 12. Every time like we would go with our dad for the weekend, we would get our allowance. I would ask him to take me to, a local comic shop in the mall so I could find an X-Men comic. None of my stuff was in order. I didn't pay attention to any of the artists, writers. I'm 12. I don't know what's what. I just know X-Men. I like it. It's great. I'm gonna read it. And I fell off after that for a while, but really got back into it in college because I found a nearby bookstore called Books a Million, and I would go there with my friends. We're in Dubuque, Iowa in college. There is nothing to do but go run around in a cornfield, drink, and do other not so great things you probably shouldn't be doing. And so we would tend to go to like the movie theater, the mall, and even just walk around a bit. And they had a section of comic books that were either like discounted trades or stuff that was, I don't want to say super obscure, but not something I would normally pick up. And that's when I started like looking through more stuff. And that's when I really got a love for collecting the trades more than anything. It's like I have 2 boxes, not super full of single issues, but I tend to like the trades more because like it gives me more of the story that I don't have to hunt down later on.
That's fair.
And it was different kinds of X-Men because I'm looking back, I have some Claremont sold stuff for like Uncanny X-Men, and some Astonishing X-Men and all some older things like that. I know my dad had some stuff too, not very many, but and it was actually when I met Ted that I brought in my horizons because I would go to the comic shop he was working at. I could be there for 5 hours and we would be talking comics.
I'd
He got
never
me
let her
started
leave
reading.
without like 4 trade paperbacks minimum.
Yeah, no. Every time I went there, I always bought something, at least three every time. And he got me turned on to Batman because I mean, there's so much
Tom
Batman
King's
out
run.
there. I don't know where to start. He got me reading Wicked and Divine. He got me reading Saga, which I adore Saga. And I have seen from what I've picked up some favorite artists and writers that I found, mostly with DC. Like I have mixed emotions about Tom King, but I do like
Uh-oh.
his Mr. Miracle. I like
Uh-oh.
his Batman. There is, oh my God,
Woman
what
of
is his
Tomorrow.
name?
Good.
I liked Brian Azzarella's Batman and the drawing style of, I can never remember how to say their name. It's like Stephen something with an S. I can't remember what it is. I think,
Oceany sounding, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
From
this guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can never know how to say that name, but I love his art style so much. So I try to find more stuff from him, not just DC, but I think I've also subscribed to like him or his partner on Webtoon. So I
Yeah.
have some comics on there, and it's just a gorgeous art style I've fallen in love with, and I'm glad to be back into comics again. Even though they're like I said, when we talk, Ted and Maria throw around a lot of names and proper nouns that I am not familiar with. And sometimes I gotta on the fly do a quick Google search. Like, who is this? Who are you? But it's been fun. Like I'm only 30. I still have a lot of comic reading left in me. And I am always delighted at a recommendation or whether that be like a type of comic, indie, mainstream, a specific writer, specific artist. I'm not particular. Can't promise I will like that recommendation, but I am always willing to give it a shot. And I've been trying to stay very open-minded in most things nowadays of like I don't know if I'm gonna like it if I don't at least try it.
So you began your Love and Rockets journey almost 2 years ago to the day almost, right?
Pretty close.
Thereabouts, I'd say.
Yeah. So since then, as you've progressed through the series, have you sought out any other 80s indie comics, because of that? Or has your I'm assuming your views probably changed as, things evolved over time, as it did with the series, of course,
Yeah, like for sure, Love and Rockets has been top tier because that is the I I don't want to say this in a bad way, but it is the oldest comic I have been introduced to.
Hey.
And
Oh, that's fascinating.
and like I mean, as a kid, when sometimes we would get the little comic strips in the newspapers that we saw, and I would see the little Boondocks and a couple other little things like that. But right now, I think Love and Rockets is, the only like older indie comic I have in my reading list in my repertoire.
Oh wow.
I know I've started a list on my phone of some like, comics that Maria and Tad have recommended. I don't remember if they were more older comics.
Don't worry,
I have like
Chynna.
2
I'll
or
put
3
some
on
Blue
that list.
Monday in her hands.
Oh no, no.
So yeah, it's like I would love more recommendations for anything, because I mean I fell in love with the art style of Love and Rockets. I love the characters and the story. And even as someone who never like read them when they first came out, I still find it very relatable, like not just to my life, but to lives of like older people in my family. Like, oh, this is familiar because I've heard like from such and such whoever, aunt, uncle, grandparent, of this type of thing going on in their lives and that sort of thing.
So going from more mainstream to quote unquote comics to Love and Rockets, was it a little jarring just because you've been exposed to basically the kind of censored type of language and so on, and then all of a sudden you've got glorious Love and Rockets with its, far more accurate, dialogue and, tig old biddies everywhere and stuff, like,
yeah. Oh yeah,
like,
it is very much.
Oh, what did I just like?
Yeah, we
discovered.
Well played, well played.
That's
I love it. I love it. I always did. I was reading it when I was like probably too small to be reading it, but I also read Fairy Freak Brothers too. Because
I love the Fairy Freak
had
Brothers.
those laying around. Yeah, so you had those. I saw Cherry before that. Of course, I was a huge Archie fan, so automatically, and into punk and stuff. So Love and Rockets just made sense. I was younger than those characters, but it was really cool. But was it kind of like, oh my God, like holy shit, what am I? This is like,
yeah, it was very much
compared to
the first page showing full titty. I'm like, oh, so this is where we are in history. Okay. Because like, yeah, all the modern stuff I have, like they censor the nudity.
Except for
Saga, because it's Saga.
Yeah, Saga.
But they censor the nudity, like very tastefully positioning furniture or a hand, and they censor the words with little symbols
hair, a lot of times.
Yeah, the hair too, helping to censor things. But with Love and Rockets, seeing everything so in such a raw form is the best way I can put it. Was very jarring because like, I mean, I knew it's a different time. Rules were different back then for media and comics, and it became very clear very quickly kind of how much different by just the content. I don't see it as a bad thing
versus the mainstream, I think, and that's
I know for me that was jarring because I was so used to things, and I just assumed that older meant more rules, not less rules. So it's like, wait a minute, these are older comics and she's naked.
But it was surprising, but I mean in a good way, because reading Love and Rockets like that, it feels very like there was more creative freedom to kind of say things, like have the dialogue and art be what you wanted it to be, and just present it in its very natural, raw form.
And thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine something so watered down, of like actually taking
it wouldn't be
Love
the
and
same.
It would just that would be so depressing. It's
that takes away like a core part of it, and just having all that like uncensored language, uncensored art. It's a very, very central aspect to Love and Rockets. It wouldn't be Love and Rockets if it was watered down and censored.
Exactly. That's the beauty of creative freedom. And I think that Love and Rockets is a testament to that. It's proof like, no, we need this freedom. You can't just allow things to be burned.
Right.
It might
burn at the stake. Yeah.
Make your eyeballs bleed a little bit. You personally, we need to have this here.
Yes, it's the downside of social media, as much as it obviously it's opened the world to all sorts of things, but I sometimes we read Love and Rocket stories and I think, oh my God, social media will go nuts with this now. All the Well, because everybody just blurts out their opinion, and you had the letters, and sometimes the letters were like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing this," and we're like, because it doesn't really matter. You printed it, but it doesn't become a snowball of hatred, or of this sort of exposure of yourself. It just becomes, oh, it's someone's letter. Who cares? Like whatever,
I mean,
man.
you know what? I'm glad I
And
can
then
finally read the
you could
letters
sort of
now.
answer them and go, you could answer
and I'm
them and
glad I
just
can
go,
read the
well, I don't
letters
agree
now,
with you.
'cause
Thank
for
you. Yeah.
for a majority of this, I have not been able to read the letters because I've just been reading the comics, on my laptop and zooming in. It would get all smudged and grainy.
Oh yeah.
And I remembered that I have better memory on my phone now for more things, such as a comic reader app. And I did that for, what was it? Issue 49, I think, was the last letters, right? 49 or
think so.
50?
Yeah.
One of the two. And I'm zooming in and like, oh, everything is so crisp and clear. And now I can, add to this part of the conversation rather than just Ted and Maria taking over talking about the letters. I now too can have an opinion.
That's
Sorry,
Gilbert or Beto. How did you choose which letters got published?
Oh,
Because you guys always had an interesting. I mean, you had great letters like Maria's, and then you had like jackass letters. People trying to be hoity-toity and telling you, the like
That's
Ivy
not the way
League white
things happen.
guy telling you about how you didn't understand your own culture.
sometimes, you know what? I don't remember. I think it was mostly like Kim Thompson, who was the co-publisher, and like maybe Jaime and I would discuss which letters, because almost all the letters got printed. Almost. We didn't
Okay.
really get that much, but we just got interesting ones, you know. But yeah, I don't really remember if we picked and choose. Sometimes they were just really funny, insulting ones, but you could tell they're funny, but they would be read wrong, so we just left them out. They
Right.
would just be read like, I don't know, opening a kettle of fish or something, and it was just like,
Right.
no, we want everybody to love us, so. No,
Yes.
it was just poorly written, funny letters, and we
Right.
thought, and Fantagraphics, they loved that. They loved awfully written letters so they could laugh at it. But we didn't want that because people didn't get it. They didn't want to do that for our comic. They want to read the stories, and
Right.
read, and enjoy what's going on. All this didn't have to add the cynicism in the editorials. If you'll notice, the early Love and Rockets had really strong editorials, and they had to stop them because our readers just. Just
I was often not a big fan of the editorials.
right.
I went back and forth.
But it was sort of like they're trashing everybody that we don't want to trash.
Right.
They would use our platform, it as a platform, like, well, see,
Right.
Love Rockets, your comics are stupid, and they would name names. And I was like,
Right.
we're not doing that. You guys are doing that. So they had to back off.
I mean, that's actually been the only issue I've ever had with the Comics Journal. I love so much of what they do, but there are times where it's like, we do this and we're gonna shit on that. I'm like,
yeah,
why can't we just all like everything?
Or just let it go,
Right.
Well, they were out to crush them.
Don't talk about it if you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first rules we made for this podcast is as much as possible we avoid bashing anything. We talk about the things we don't like. If we don't like it, we don't talk about it.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Maria, I did have a question.
Yes.
For you. So, going back over the whole series again, I don't know if I'm assuming that you reread just about everything either you had or that you could get your hands on too. Did you discover anything new about the series rereading it? And also like probably the issues that you may have missed the first time around?
Have I discovered? Oh, look, it was like reading it for the first time, mostly, and mostly I'm contrasting Love and Rockets to like that thought of, wow, if people read this now and then they went and the Christians or whoever, I don't know, read it and like if the social media sort of backlash that would ensue from this stuff, now. And I know it's still out there. I don't know, like some of the situations that, for example, Beto puts in, like when who was it? Sorry, a character is like a 24-year-old man, and he sleeps with a 14-year-old girl, and that's like now it would be like, oh my god, rah rah rah. But that, yeah, I can't remember. No, not I think maybe Gato and People or someone. Yeah, People is definitely 14.
But also Luba was like 15 when she got married.
Yeah, exactly. But
Poison River, yeah.
But
but that stuff happened. I had an 18-year-old boyfriend when I was 13. My first boyfriend was 18, and we didn't do anything. I was very prudish, but that stuff happens in Latin America, and that's why Beto, I was like, wow, have you been to Mexico? Because it's like that was normal in that era, in the 80s or whatever. I don't know if it's still, who knows whether it still happens, but that stuff, there was a lot of content in it that now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, this was really groundbreaking. When I read it at the time, I was probably closer to, I was about 20, 21, and I had just arrived in Australia. I came to Australia when I was 20, so I didn't think anything of it. And I said, oh yeah, she's 14, he's 24. Yeah, like your quinceañera, your 15-year parties means you can get married now. You're a woman, in reality in Mexico, it's like it's your coming of age. It means you're a woman now, and basically a girl could get. But in Western cultures, we're like, oh no, you have to be 25 at least. Who gets married before that? Anyway, so. Yeah, mostly I'm looking back at it as someone who's now 4 years older, and just cherishing that you were able to write these stories and to be so free, exactly, with your stories and your drawings, and like you had full frontal male nudity, all sorts of gay relationships, lesbian relationships, all sorts of stuff. And you were just able to put it out there and, just express, and I think I really appreciate it, because, now we are under such a scrutiny with everything, it's, I think that's mostly, that would be my take. Yeah.
The weight of that comparison that was constantly on your mind when revisiting Love and Rockets, did that diminish your enjoyment at all, with that constantly kind of being there and going nattering in the back of your mind?
No, not at all.
I mean, I hope not.
No, I really appreciate more. And also the other thing is that because we are discussing it, I read an issue and then discuss it, we are really poring over it and looking at all the panels. And what I'm finding is, I read them when I was young. I would read them, and then if I really liked the story, I would read it maybe twice or three times. But I never discussed it with anyone. So discussing it in the book club is great, because we pick favorite panels. So we have to kind of look at the art and the storytelling in a more analytical way, I guess, which is great, and the stories as well. And and then we get to sort of express, oh, that reminds me of El Salvador in the 80s, when there was civil war and this and that, people would go through that stuff, and also being older, obviously, life experience and whatever, it's much deeper now. Like, I'm so glad I'm rereading it, because they've been sitting in my bookshelf for 20, 30 years. And
Did you have to dig some
I'm
of
really
them out
grateful.
of your storage unit?
I did, yeah. I had to dig some out, out of my, and I pulled out the original issues, and I'm like, oh wow, I got these mint issues, you know. And I love showing them off to the guys, like, oh look, I've got it, you know.
So Beto,
And
the next time you're in
calendars
Australia, you need to go sign them for
All right.
yeah. Yeah, so no, I'm really appreciating reading it as an older person and someone who is of that time too.
Mm.
I mean, there's something about it's my time, you know,
Yeah.
and but now I know better, you know. So
Yeah.
no, it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get to look at it through the lens of experience.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I've appreciated having the multi-generational discussion
Mm.
group, you know, because I'm like 15 years older than Marisol and like 15 years younger than Maria. Maria's like 10
Mhm.
years younger than Johnny, and Andy's in between Maria and I. So you know, everybody reading it, we come from
We all,
different places.
yeah.
And still love it and still take things from it. You know, Marisol was my first pick for this group just because I'm not gonna put a discussion of Love and Rockets out on the internet that's just old white guys talking about it.
That's okay with me.
I just wasn't comfortable with that. I mean, it's one thing for old white guys to read it and talk about it on their own, but if we're gonna like add it to the overall discussion, I had two rules. I needed to have a woman, I needed to have a person of color. And Marisol, I got both. So I knew that like if the two of us could do the podcast, then we didn't have to have anybody else.
So you're calling Marisol a twofer. Is that what you're telling her?
Well,
she
I
covers
mean,
And she's a young one.
twofer. Okay, all
I
right.
check
I
both
got it.
boxes.
so she's
I
a
check three
threefer.
boxes.
Yeah.
And then when we added Maria, it just became that much, I think, more vibrant for me because I get to hear between them, you know, what was still the same, what had changed over the years, what was, you know, one of the values to me in any comic that comes from a cultural place that isn't my own. And, you know, I'm blessed or cursed to be, you know, affluent white male. So all comics were written for me, but God, it gets boring. I want something different. But it's even more fun and fulfilling to me when I can be experiencing that with somebody that it speaks to more personally, because then not only am I getting your view, Beto, but I'm getting their take on it, and it's just been a wonderful experience for me. So I wanted to thank them both. That's part of why you're here.
I still remember when you asked me to be on the podcast, Tad. I was like, hell yeah, that sounds amazing. What is Love and Rockets? I don't know, but it sounds like it could be fun. And then here we are.
50 issues later, do you have any and Chynna, you're right. We started, the first one aired September 17th, 2022. So Marisol,
wow.
Johnny, Andy, and I have been doing this for 2 days short of 2 years now. Maria joined us about a year and a half ago because it was, I think, April 10th of 23. I looked that up for Chynna earlier today. It's been a ride.
15, right? Or
It took a
Issue
hiatus.
19.
19, yeah.
19.
Because my letter was on issue 18 and then
Yeah.
had contact with me.
And Maria, did you know that you were the 100th interview that 22 Panels did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. There you go.
That's awesome.
We're
I
like
have one last question for Beto before, if we're closing.
Sure, we're at the
How did you
2 hour
guys
mark, so we're
decide
gonna
on the
get there.
title "Love and Rockets"?
Well, it was actually up to me. I was just messing around with names, you know, just looking at what's good. Yeah, we got to live with this. You know, we got to be different from Marvel and DC. They have the good names, all this stuff, right? My favorite comic book title of all time is from Archie, and it was called Pep. And I just
Yes, I
loved when
remember
I was a
that.
little kid and it just said Pep on the cover, and there'd be some Archie shenanigans on the cover. But it was before they stylized it for the 70s and such, but it was just block letters that said Pep. And then later on, once I became a historian of old comics, it started out as a superhero comic. It was the Shields comic, it was Pep.
Yes.
Thrilling and laugh comics. Those old Archie comics started out as superhero comics. And then they brought in this goofy redhead, uh, this goofy teenage redhead, because teenagers were were the new audience in the early 1940s. And it was Archie. And he just took over the company completely. He was so
Yeah.
popular. Yeah, they dropped the superheroes. They brought them back once in a while, but they're terrible. And but
Yeah, they weren't that
but
good.
the Archie just took over, and they sold better than Marvel and DC at the time, so they didn't have to worry. It's funny because they always talk about the big two. There was big three.
Right.
It was Archie comics sold just as well, if not more so.
They still do.
Yeah. Well, they have the best distribution ever. They're in
Right.
supermarkets. They're in bookstores. They're everywhere. You see the paperbacks. So somehow they wrangled that at the right time. But so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Archie comics, and then the Harvey comics. I said the other kid comics. They were super sellers, and it's really weird to think that back in those days that Western comics and war comics sold just as well as.
Yes, they did. Those were very popular.
And then it just all faded into superheroes and whatever.
Well,
So
thank
you guys
Dr.
had the
Wortham.
rockets part, because there was a lot of science fiction in your earlier stories.
So yeah, so what happened is, like, I just thought, what are we gonna have a title? And I just thought I like the idea of contrasting the crazy shit with love. Just love has to be in the title somehow. And then I realized,
He just came out and said it.
and then the other title was just a working title to get going, was Robots and Romance. Okay. Now, that was just too niche. That was just too robots. It's a science fiction.
Long.
Love and Rockets is more mysterious for me because the love could either be emotional, or it can be fireworks. It could be the emotion of fireworks. Whereas same thing with rockets. Rockets could just be your emotions, the rockets and your emotions freaking out, or they're just, technical machines, whatever it is. So I just thought you could flip the meaning all you wanted, and it was kind of mysterious and a cool name. And
very cool name.
Stuck. Yeah.
Were you upset when Love and Rockets took it for the band?
It was annoying, but at first it was annoying, and then it got to be business because they're selling T-shirts, and that's how the band makes money. So they're making thousands and thousands of dollars on their T-shirts, and we're making hundreds.
Yeah.
That was a problem. That was the problem. And everybody's
I could totally see
jealous.
that.
I go, jealous of my own title being swiped? Really?
Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, as somebody who was growing up at that time listening to that music, I remember the band came out, and I told you, like, I was too young to buy your comic initially, and then I stopped like buying comics for about 20 years. But I remember the band came out, and half the people I knew, I'm like, that's a comic. You guys know that, right?
I wore a Love and Rockets T-shirt to a Pearl Jam show recently, and had somebody think that it was the band, and I had to correct them and educate them and send them after the good stuff.
I think my editor friend Shelley Bond, I think the reason we hooked up is because she saw Love and Rockets the comic, and she goes, "Oh, they made a comic from the band."
Oh, wow!
I believe it.
Wow,
that's good because it led to her. Together.
Well, because the band would have been totally up her alley. I can believe that.
Oh, that's her world. Yeah.
That's totally Shelley.
I did like the band. I'm not gonna lie, but but they weren't like my favorite or anything. But I always wondered about that. Yeah, go ahead.
So before we wrap up, Beto, did you come up with any recommendations for us for the world? Or should we just read more Love and Rockets? We can do that too.
I'm just trying to think. Okay, the last movie I really loved, and I watched it too many times because it's just all over the place, was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's lots of reasons for that, because it's more than just a movie to me. It was like Tarantino captured 1969, the summer of 69 in Southern California exactly. I've never seen it captured like the way my past, my sixth grade past, so perfectly of what it was like The streets. I mean, I wasn't there. I was a little kid, right? But just the streets, the clothes, the way they talked, the way everything they did, the music, it was just, and a lot of the music was just local LA bands from the time. So you just hear weird rock songs, and this and that, and Brad Pitt peeling out, Hollywood Boulevard and his, convertible. It was just great. It just was nostalgic, even though it was, about a horrible subject. And then, it was a happy ending.
Yes, and it was very cathartic. It was like I thought it was so bittersweet that that's not what really happened.
Especially the ending, yeah,
to
it was
know
kinda
the
like,
reality of what really happened. But it felt good when
yeah, because when I was a
everybody.
kid, I was aware of what happened because Mario and I shared a room and he had a TV and it was on the news every day, and we're just flipping out. I didn't get it. I'm like in the sixth grade, and I'm going, "What? Like these people were just in their house, and then this happened, and then 2 weeks later they found the culprits and they're teenage girls, and we're like, what the hell's going on here? And it's the Hollywood murders and stuff. And I remember Roman Polanski was it was on the news, and he was on the street looking in cars, looking for clues, literally writing down license plate and going in cars and doing all this stuff. And it was just crazy. And I remember being a
Very
kid.
sad.
But yeah, and then they talked to him, and one of them, the most famous one, was Susan Atkins. She talked like a baby. She talked like this and it was just creepy. I'm like, I don't get it. What did they do? And Mario explained what they did. I go, that's fucking horrible. This is the worst thing I've ever heard. And it was just a weird thing. And so, and then it became a, classic story, a legend. And then Quentin decided, I guess he was frustrated with how it ended, so he made up his own.
Yeah, all his movies are about righting historical wrongs.
Like Glorious Bastards.
Like Glorious Bastards.
yeah.
It blows up Hitler and all the Nazis.
Yeah.
It's just great.
Kindness.
Music, boy, okay. You saw, Tad, you saw my list, so 95% of that is correct.
Okay.
So, were there any surprises on that list that you'd never heard of?
I remember there were.
Well, no,
I can't remember which ones.
Because you're talking the 15 list from way back. I'm talking before you were on, in issue 7 of the newest Love and Rockets. And here, I'll share my screen really quick so you can see what I'm talking about. It's essentially just Hector and Killer's playlist and just listing off song after song after song.
Wow.
And there were actually probably a handful that I didn't know. There haven't been any that I didn't like.
Oh, cool.
Like I said, my wife hasn't even read the comic, but the Love and Rockets playlist is a house favorite.
Wow.
Because it's just a crazy mix from the 40s through the present and just all good.
Wow.
Well, I left out, about 10 or 20, but I just ran out.
Well, that just means that, you can squeeze them in some other time.
Yeah, that's right. For the reprint, I can add a page, yeah.
There's many years left, hopefully. I hope you're not planning on wrapping up these stories anytime soon. I'm just getting to fall in love with some of the new characters.
Not soon, someday, but not soon. Not soon.
Right.
We're still in the middle.
Yeah. So, Beto, thank you so much. Chynna, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
For everybody, this has been the 22 Panels Love and Rockets Book Club, and we will see you after the next page.
All right.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.